Mr. Weed raises his glass, smiling politely, and says,
Peter, being here with your wonderful family, your beautiful home, and your funny talking dog, well, I'm impressed.
Seconds later, he's dead. There's no buildup, no dramatic music, just panic, a cutaway, and Death casually announcing,
Ha! Gotcha! It's just me, Death. I'm here for the body.
Peter waves it off like a minor inconvenience. Dinner continues. Then there's the grave. Lois is crying. The camera pulls back. And Peter shrugs and admits,
I thought if I shook him enough, he'd stop crying. I was kind of right.
That's not a villain monologue. That's a punchline. And it keeps happening. These moments flash by so fast they barely register as deaths. They're jokes. They're absurd. They're wrapped in cutaways, laugh tracks, and escalation so extreme your brain doesn't have time to process what just happened. So here's the uncomfortable question. How did Family Guy turn Peter Griffin into one of the most lethal characters in animated television without anyone really noticing? Family Guy treats death differently than most animated shows. It doesn't linger. It doesn't mourn. It resets. And at the center of many of its most casual, throwaway fatalities is one character, Peter Griffin. In this video, we're breaking down every major, named character death directly caused by Peter Griffin, whether intentional, reckless, accidental, or played entirely for laughs. We'll examine what Peter did, why it happened, and why the show moves on so quickly afterward. By the end, we'll answer the uncomfortable question Family Guy never asks out loud. Is Peter Griffin just an idiot in a cartoon? Or one of the most dangerous characters in animated television? And the show knows it? Mr. Weed. Mr. Weed's death is the blueprint for how Family Guy treats killing as comedy. The setup is almost wholesome. Mr. Weed sits at the Griffin dinner table, impressed by the family, the house, even Brian. He smiles and announces,
Starting Monday, I would like to promote you to head of toy development.
Peter's life has just changed forever. Then Mr. Weed chokes. Peter doesn't act decisively. He panics, stalls, and keeps talking.
All right, let's not panic. Nobody even knows about this yet.
That line alone tells you everything about Peter's priorities. This isn't about saving a life, it's about avoiding inconvenience. When death appears, Peter sighs in relief and says, Oh, thank God. Not grief, not shock, gratitude. This is a reckless killing. Peter didn't intend to murder his boss, but his incompetence, delay, and selfish instinct directly lead to the outcome. The show doesn't pause. There's no mourning arc. Mr. Weed exists just long enough to die. What makes this death memorable is how casual it is. A promotion, a role, a corpse. Family Guy establishes early that if Peter Griffin is in the room, survival is never guaranteed. Peter Griffin Jr. This is where the show stops pretending death is accidental. The scene starts light. Lois heads out, warns Peter to be responsible, and adds,
I don't want a repeat of the last time I left you alone with one of our children.
The tone feels normal until the cutaway. We see a tiny gravestone. Lois is crying, and Peter explains casually,
I'm sorry, Lois. I thought if I shook him enough, he'd stop crying. I was kind of right.
There's no ambiguity here. This is a direct killing, openly acknowledged by Peter himself. No fantasy framing, no implication. He admits it, shrugs, and the joke moves on. What makes this moment unsettling isn't the line, it's the delivery. Peter isn't haunted, he isn't confused. He treats the death of his child like a miscalculation, not a tragedy. Family Guy uses shock as the punchline, trusting the audience to laugh because the absurdity is so extreme. But the canon implication remains. Peter killed his own son, and the show never revisits it. This moment permanently reframes Peter Griffin. He isn't just reckless. Under the show's logic, he's capable of doing the unthinkable, and sleeping just fine afterward. Francis Griffin. Francis Griffin's death is loud, chaotic, and deeply personal. During Meg's birthday party, Peter, dressed as a clown, decides to ride a bike down the stairs. It's a stunt with no purpose beyond attention. It ends with Francis crushed. As doctors explain the damage, Peter listens as they list it out.
I broke all your ribs and busted your spleen and punctured your lung.
Francis dies shortly after, leaving Peter desperate for validation. His father's last words to him are brutal.
You're a fat, stinking drunk.
This is an accidental killing, but one driven entirely by Peter's impulsiveness and need for spectacle. He didn't mean to kill his father, but he absolutely caused it. What makes this death linger is that the show almost pretends to care. There's grief, reflection, even a vow of sobriety. Then, seconds later, Peter replaces alcohol with crack cocaine and the lesson evaporates. Family Guy gives Peter a moment of humanity, then immediately undercuts it. Francis dies not as a turning point, but as another stepping stone in Peter's cycle of destruction. James the Cat. James the Cat's death is played entirely as a joke, but it's one of the most disturbing sequences in the series. Peter decides to shave Quagmire's cat and invokes the myth of cats having 9 lives. When the cat dies, everyone panics. Peter waves it off.
Well, you guys relax. He's got 8 more lives.
And then he keeps going. Each time, Peter counts down.
Okay, 7 more lives. 6. 5.
Ignoring pleas to stop, he treats the animal's death as a math problem. There's no confusion, no panic, just commitment to the bit. This is a dark gag killing, but it's also intentional. Peter knows exactly what he's doing. The humor comes from repetition, escalation, and the horrifying calmness of his voice. What makes this scene memorable isn't the violence, it's the logic. Peter reduces death to a technicality. As long as there are lives left, nothing matters. It's one of the clearest examples of how Family Guy uses cruelty as comedy, trusting that exaggeration will keep viewers laughing instead of questioning what they're seeing. Joan Cusack. Joan Cusack's death might be the most absurd and the most telling. Consumed by jealousy after Quagmire is celebrated as a hero, Peter spirals. He yells,
People are gonna know the name Peter Griffin.
desperate to be remembered for something. Moments later, he literally falls on Joan Cusack. There's no build-up, no dramatic framing, just a sudden impact, followed by Peter's quiet realization,
Uh-oh.
this is a pure accidental killing, caused by Peter's ego-driven meltdown. He doesn't recognize the weight of what he's done. He doesn't react with horror. He stuffs her body into a mailbox and moves on. The joke isn't the death, it's how meaningless it is. Even killing a celebrity doesn't give Peter the recognition he wants. This death perfectly encapsulates the show's thesis. Peter Griffin leaves destruction everywhere, yet gains nothing from it. No growth, no memory, just another body in the background of a punchline. Peter's capacity for killing works because it follows an absurd but consistent internal logic. Death isn't random. It's an extension of his ego, incompetence, and impulsiveness. Mr. Weed dies from Peter's panic. Peter Jr. dies from misguided caretaking. Francis dies from reckless stunts. James the Cat dies from Peter's obsessive curiosity. Joan Cusack dies because Peter wants recognition. Each act escalates in danger and absurdity, yet the show treats it lightly. Intentional, accidental, or reckless, the logic is simple. If Peter is involved, survival is optional. Family Guy allows these killings to coexist as punchlines, cutaways, and visual gags, making Peter one of the most lethal characters in animated television without ever breaking comedic tone. What makes Peter's kills memorable isn't realism, it's contrast. He's a buffoon whose stupidity causes chaos. A boss chokes at dinner, a child dies under his care, a father is crushed by a clown stunt, a cat is methodically butchered, and a celebrity is flattened by ego. Each death escalates in absurdity, yet lands as humor. In Quahog, lethality isn't about malice, it's about Peter's universe-bending incompetence. Death bends quietly around him, often unnoticed, always unavoidable. And while the show laughs, viewers are left with the uncomfortable truth. Peter Griffin isn't just reckless, he's dangerous, and the series delights in letting us watch it happen.